It's Woody Akademiks, and check it out, man, because Kendrick Lamar, now he put out an album called To Pimp a Butterfly recently, and now, if you're looking for some type of album to bump in a whip on the way to the club, switching lanes, top back, screaming out money ain't a thing, this ain't it. Now, if you're looking for some trap ballads, ratchet Negro spirituals, this ain't it either. Now, it came out on iTunes recently, a few days ago actually, and it's expected to move over 375,000 records the first week. That's including streaming sales as well. Now, that's a 49% increase over what Good Kid, Mad City did, which sold 252,000 its first week. Now, he broke even a couple of records. People been going crazy about that. Now, he broke Spotify's records for a number of times a album got streamed in a day. He broke it 2 days in a row. Now, to add some clarity to that, because everybody's going crazy, listen, that record's been broken about every 3 weeks in the last 6 months. But I will say this, solid numbers, definitely not a flop, unless you're Top Dog who thought he was going to sell a milli. He's expected to fall short of that, maybe 400,000 max, maybe 425. Now, before we get into the quality, right? There's going to be two set of people. There's going to be ones who say, God damn it, this shit is a snooze fest. This got to be like a goddamn sleeping pill in audio form. This is boring. They're going to dismiss it. Then we're going to have another crowd. They're going to love it. Oh my God, this shit is classic. Kendrick. Basically giving a long slurp. That's all you're going to hear. Now, check it out. Because for you to get this album, at least in my opinion, you have to fall into the theatrical world that it creates. I mean, it creates a world like it's a movie. And now the best analogy I could give you as far as that is like, it's kind of like watching a movie, right? If you're watching a movie, you feel like you're in the movie when you're watching it. Now, if you're watching a movie and you're looking at the screen rather than looking at the movie, you feel like you're watching a screen that has a movie on it. Now, when you're watching a movie, you don't even notice the screen. But if you're watching the screen, you notice everything else. You notice everything going on around you. And that's exactly what it is. Now, also, you got to realize that this album, it has a whole different tempo, a whole different vibe than anything out today. And like I said with Yeezus, when that came out, not because you made something that's different means it's automatically hot, right? Different does not mean hot, contrary to what most people think. You know, people hit you with the, this is some different shit. You just can't understand it. This is genius. Fuck on out of here. So listen, this different doesn't mean automatically hot. I will say though, Shea Butter Twitter is gonna love this shit. Believe me. I mean, they're gonna give this shit hella finger snaps, and they're gonna do this while they're probably using the fucking patchouli oil. Now, K. Dot focuses on the message, and the lyricism in this is like a rap / poetic delivery. He focuses on that over melody, which some might resent, because a lot of people are conditioned to love the melody, then appreciate the lyrics or whatever the message is. So you can't even blame those people, because listen, melody is one of the most important aspects to music. Now, it's funny though, because the whole album is really to me, it's a masterpiece as far as being in cohesion. I mean, it spreads the message and it's consistent. But to me, this actually came across more like a soundtrack than an album. I will say this, because one interesting thing that happens is that we find out that Kendrick Lamar was writing a letter or a poem to Tupac and actually talks to him at the end, which if you think about it, just think about this aspect, right? Because this is pretty much a very pro-black album, pretty much one of the most pro-black album I've heard in a while. Kendrick Lamar could make an album that's pretty pro-black. Nobody gets offended or threatened, especially if they're not black or anything, right? Maybe it's his delivery or his demeanor. But remember when Pac was kind of making the same type of music? Pac was enemy number one during his time, the duality. So overall, it was a good structured album. Now, my only slight critique before I get into this thing track by track is that it leaves a little bit to be desired, at least on the musicianship side of it. And to put it in contrast, I mean, think about like My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. To me, that was also an album that was very theatrical, but musically it delivered. It gave us everything and more. Now, the message wasn't there, at least for My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, but it really delivered everything else. Now, this album kind of told a story from a lot of different angles. I mean, it showed all type of emotions. The emotions ranged from suicidal, a sense of frustration, lack of self-worth, even a doubt in oneself, and even searching for what's next. So it went all over the place. And by the way, if you think about it, the metaphorical meaning of what the album really meant, at least with what was explained with the caterpillar, was actually fucking dope. Now, let's just get into it. Let's go track by track, and I'll let you know what I think about each track. Now, it starts off with a track called Wesley's Theory. I mean, it's a dope sample. For any producers who listen to this, you probably had a great time sample digging. I mean, it's a solid intro. I mean, to me, it's more of a strong statement rather than a strong song, but it's not a weak song either. Now, the whole Every Negro is a Star, to keep it real, is kind of dope. Okay, so K. Dot, I'll give you kudos. Good start to the album. Now, it goes to a track 2, which is for free, an interlude. We already got a goddamn interlude. Hella quick. Now, this is finger snapping time because we have Kendrick in full poem mode, and basically, I think it's an important track to determine and set. I think this is an ambiance setter right here because it kind of sets where the tempo is going to be, the time period, and what the whole groove of the whole album really is about. Now, track 3, pretty much K. Dot gets on some type of G-Funk, old West Coast sound. I mean, K. Dot is still on that black empowerment joint, and really it's a cool album cut with this track as well. Now, track 4, Institutionalized, cool track as well. I mean, it got his grandmother on the hook giving him some advice, which, I mean, I thought about, I'm like, okay, I like it. Dope track, I like it. Now, and by the way, for the first 4, still all dope album tracks. Now, 5, we get to the song called These Walls, and we hear some words, Tupac, from Kendrick. And actually, this is one of my favorite tracks on the actual album. I mean, it's the right amount of music, the right amount of groove, but it doesn't rob you of the overall goal of the album, which is a lot of lyricism and a lot of message. Now, 6 is a song called You. I mean, at times it starts off with offbeat ranting, talking about the pressures of fame, talking about eventually him drinking his problems away, and even he starts screaming, all types of random shit. But you see the self-doubt, you see the whole emotional roller coaster through the entire track, and the beat changes as he gets more drunk, and the beat switch is amazing. It's kind of like, sometimes when you hear a beat switch on a song, you expect some new shit to come in, and definitely delivers here. I love it. It's one of my favorite tracks on this album. Now, track 7 is probably one of the most contemporary tracks on the actual album. I believe Pharrell had some input on this, and to me it's a cool album cut as well. Now, number 8, For Sale, the interlude. Now, it's more spoken word poetry by Duckworth, and yes, I appreciate it. I mean, it's kind of dope. I mean, if you get into the feel of the album, it won't just jump out of the blue at you. Now, if you just listen to one track in a vacuum, you're like, oh, what? So to keep it real, I'm not a finger snapper, but I understand why it's there. Now, number 9. To me, again, it felt a little bit more like spoken word shit again. And I mean, listen, it's kind of like spoken word mixed with rap. And what I focused on was that was some good writing, good bars by Kendrick. And musically, I thought it left more to be desired. Now, number 10, Hood Politics. That's one of the favorite songs, at least by me, on the entire album. Once I heard that goddamn snare, I'm like, ooh, turn up. Now, been A1 since day one. This is one of my top 3 songs on the entire album. I mean, I really like the song, and I think a lot of people on social media also like it as well. Number 11, How Much a Dollar Costs. I think it was a great fucking song. It was a great storytelling song, and we don't really see a lot of those these days in hip-hop. Right? I mean, the symbolism was on 100 million. I mean, the homeless man, God, symbolism, lesson about greed, and also showing how some people really think when it comes to make decisions to help others out. Now, number 12, Complexion. Decent album cut to me, and I mean, the production was a little bit weird. I thought the production left a little bit more to be desired, but still decent track as well. Now, Black of the Berry, to me, was lyrically amazing. Superb message. Assassin, that's a Jamaican dancehall artist who was on the track as well. Also dope to me. A standout track, top 5, if I would go as far to say so. Number 14 is You Ain't Gotta Lie. This sounds to me like it's like a radio track. It's definitely it's way more smooth in a wild way. You listen to it, and the more you listen to it, it sounds like it needs a Pac verse, which it kind of reminds me of a Pac song. I just can't think of which one right now. If you think of it, you let me know. To me, it's a top 5 song on the album. Now, track 15 is I Love Myself. Now, this is a live version rather than the studio version. It sounds way better than the studio version. However, still not doing it for me. I mean, I'm not saying it's not a cool song. It's just not for me. I mean, it fits perfectly on the album, but I still think this is a great album cut, but not a single. I think he put it out before as a single. I don't like it as a single. I like it as an album cut because it fit within the ambiance created. Now, that's it. Nothing more, nothing less. Now, track 16 is actually the outro, and pretty much is great outro. I mean, the words with Pac was amazing. The symbolism used by Kendrick with the butterfly caterpillar joint was actually pretty good too, and it showed the depth he tried to go with the album. Now, as I said, this album focused more on the lyrics and the message more than you could say the melody. And I didn't mind that much. To me, it was a pretty good album. I'm not going to say, if I had to give it a rating, which I usually do, to me, it's a 4.5 out of 5. I know everyone's giving it great reviews, it's perfect, that's cool. But to me, it left more to be desired. And because it did that, I couldn't give it a perfect score. And not only that, we can't even call it classic, because a lot of people have jumped out the window. Oh, it's classic. Listen, an album, whether or not it's classic, that gets determined with time. Time determines if an album is classic. When an album is classic, it changes shit. It changes what other people do, and it changes music. That's what classic albums do. It has an impact, a huge impact. And not at the moment by trending on Twitter, over time. So, do I think Kendrick accomplished what he set out to? I think he actually did. I'm in love with how the album ended. I was a little bit skeptical at first, but the more you got into it, it was like, yo, this is kind of cool. It might take a couple listens if you don't get it. So I actually like the album. It's probably one of the better albums of the year. I'm not going to say it's something that's changing the world, but of course it is probably at least, and when I say it's one of the best album, I'm looking at it on a very technical level. I'm looking at everything that's trying to be accomplished on the album, and I'm rating them accordingly. And it's a 4.5 out of 5. It's a 9 out of 10 if you want to look at it like that. So get in the comment box. Make sure you guys like. Definitely give me your review. You might not agree with this review, because if you didn't get the album, you probably don't like it at all. Now, it's the same way I could evaluate some other type of genre on some other type of music based on how and what the music's actually about and what the intention is. And obviously, good music is good music, and then whack music is just whack. So get in the comment box. Make sure you guys like, definitely subscribe. Follow me on Instagram and on Twitter at I'm Akademiks. It's your boy DJ Akademiks. I'm out.